I'm a baggage handler at Singapore Changi Airport, and last week an American couple came through on a layover from Tokyo. The woman kept pacing near the gate for 40 minutes, checking her watch, patting her pocket. Her husband sat rigid, both hands gripping his carry-on like someone might snatch it. When boarding started, she rushed the line even though they had assigned seat. I asked if everything was alright. She looked at me like I'd asked if the sky was blue and said, "We're at an airport." I told her she could relax, security screening happens right at the gate here, takes 2 minutes max. She blinked twice and asked where the real checkpoint was. When I explained this was it, she just stood there holding her shoes. Here's what Americans don't understand about airports. Most of the world doesn't run them like military installations. In Taipei, my cousin works the check-in counter at Taoyuan International. She says American tourists always show up 3 hours early for domestic connections, already sweating through their shirt. They've got their liquids in baggies, laptops in separate bins, belts in hand before anyone asks. She has to keep explaining that Taiwan's domestic flights don't require all that. They look at her like she's joking. One guy insisted on removing his shoes anyway because, and I'm quoting here, "It's just what you do at airports." My cousin told him he could keep them on. He took them off, walked through security in his socks, then put them back on. She said he seemed genuinely uncomfortable the entire time, like he'd gotten away with something. My brother manages a duty-free shop at Keflavik Airport in Iceland. American travelers walk past his perfume displays looking shell-shocked, and he's learned why. They've just cleared security in under 5 minutes. No shoe removal, no laptop separation, no interrogation about their travel plans. They don't trust it. One woman came back to ask him if there was a second security, somewhere else in the terminal. He told her this was it, she was good to go. She said, "That's impossible, I still have my water bottle." He explained Iceland lets you keep drinks under certain sizes. She poured it out anyway, then bought another one inside, and told him she felt better knowing she'd done it right. She'd rather follow rules that don't exist than risk missing ones that do. I work immigration control at Auckland Airport in New Zealand, and American passengers treat the interview like a deposition. They arrive with folders, printed hotel confirmations, return flight itineraries, bank statements they've highlighted. I asked one man routine questions about his visit, and he handed me a 3-page typed document titled, "Purpose of Travel, Supporting Evidence." I hadn't asked for evidence. I'd asked if he was here for business or pleasure. He said, "I know how this works," and kept referencing the folder. When I approved his entry after 90 seconds, he looked betrayed. He asked if I wanted to see his vaccination record. I told him we didn't need those anymore. He said, "Right, but you could check if you wanted to," like he'd studied for an exam that got cancelled. I'm a transit coordinator at Helsinki-Vantaa Airport in Finland, and last month an American businessman asked where the rescreening checkpoint was for his connecting flight to Stockholm. I told him there wasn't one. He'd already cleared security, he could just walk to his gate. He said that was impossible, he was switching airlines. I explained that didn't matter in Schengen. He insisted I was wrong, that every airport requires rescreening between connections. I pulled up the terminal map and showed him. No checkpoints between gates, just shops and restaurants. He studied the map like it was a trap, then asked, "But what if I brought something dangerous from my first flight?" I told him that's why he went through security initially. He walked away muttering about liability and said American airports would never allow this because someone would abuse it eventually. I'm a customs officer at Dublin Airport in Ireland, and Americans treat the "nothing to declare" green channel like it's a trick question. Last week a family of 4 stood at the entrance debating whether their sealed duty-free whiskey counted as something to declare. I watched them for 3 minutes. Finally, the father approached me holding the bag at arm's length like it might explode and asked if he needed to report it. I told him duty-free purchases were fine, that's literally what the green channel was for. He said, "But we bought it in Scotland." I explained Scotland and Ireland were different countries but both in the EU Customs Union at the time of purchase. He responded that American customs makes you declare everything you bought abroad, even things you bought in the airport. I told him that's not how it works here. He looked at his wife and said, "See, this is why Europe's easier on smugglers." I just told him he could walk through freely with legal purchases and he'd somehow turned that into a criminal justice failure. They went through the green channel but the mother kept glancing back like she'd triggered some silent alarm. My nephew works the help desk at Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam, and he says American passengers ask about TSA pre-check more than anything else. They want to know which lane is the equivalent, how to sign up, whether they're American membership transfers. He has to explain we don't have a premium security tier because regular security already takes 5 minutes. One woman insisted there had to be a fast-track option for frequent flyers. My nephew showed her the standard line, 12 people deep, moving steadily. She watched it for 30 seconds and said, "What about for business class passengers?" He told her they use the same security as everyone else. She said that was ridiculous, that American airports understood some travelers were more valuable and deserved expedited treatment. My nephew asked if she'd rather wait in the current 5-minute line or pay extra to wait in a 3-minute line. She thought about it seriously, then asked how much the upgrade would cost. He told her it didn't exist. She walked away saying European airports had no sense of market segmentation. I'm the head of customer service at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport in the Netherlands, and American passengers file more complaints about our security than any other nationality, but here's the strange part. They're complaining it's too fast. Last week someone submitted feedback saying our officers were unprofessional because they smiled and didn't ask enough questions. The complaint specifically mentioned that the security agent said, "Have a nice flight," instead of remaining stern. The passenger wrote that it didn't feel secure because the process was too relaxed. We've had similar complaints about officers not checking bags thoroughly enough, even though our equipment is more advanced than most American airports. One passenger demanded his laptop be swabbed for explosive. We don't routinely do that here. He insisted. We did it to make him comfortable. When it came back clean, he said, "See, that's what real security looks like." We'd literally done it because he asked. My cousin works at the food court in Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia, and she says American travelers react to the prices like they've discovered a glitch. A full meal costs maybe $8. They check the menu 3 times, ask if that's the local currency, then order suspiciously. One man got chicken rice, ate half, came back and asked if the food was expired. My cousin assured him it was fresh. He said, "Then why is it so cheap?" She explained airport food doesn't cost $15 everywhere. He responded by saying that American airports charge premium prices because of rent and security costs, like that was a feature and not a problem. He took a photo of the receipt to show people back home, describing it as absolutely insane that he'd eaten for under $10. My cousin asked if he meant insane good or insane bad. He said he genuinely couldn't tell anymore. I manage a coffee kiosk at Hamad International Airport in Qatar, and Americans always ask why we don't have a self-service counter where you order on a screen. We tried tablets once, but most passengers preferred talking to staff. Americans specifically requested the screens back. One woman told me she doesn't like interacting with workers at airports because it slows everything down. I pointed out she'd been standing at the counter talking to me for 2 minutes. She said that was different because she was asking about the screens. I made her cappuccino in 90 seconds. She watched me work and said, "This would be faster automated." I asked if 90 seconds wasn't fast enough. She admitted it was but said the principle matters. She explained that American airports have systems that eliminate human error, and she trusts machines more than people when she's stressed. I told her I'd made 10,000 coffees this year without error. She said, "Right, but you could." I handed her the drink. She thanked the coffee, not me. I'm a restaurant manager at Copenhagen Airport in Denmark, and American customers always ask why we don't have a tipping system. We include service in the prices. They see the bill, pull out extra cash anyway, and insist we take it. Last month a businessman tried to tip me 50 kroner after a sandwich and coffee. I politely declined. He left it on the table and walked away. I followed him to return it. He looked offended and said in America you tip for good service as a sign of respect. I told him his bill already included fair wages for my staff. He asked how servers made decent money then. I explained we pay them properly. He said, "But what's their incentive to be nice?" I gestured at my team, all of them helping customers efficiently and politely. He studied them like they were actors in a performance, then said American service was superior because the tipping system created competition. I asked if he'd had bad service here. He admitted he hadn't but maintained the principle was wrong. He left the 50 kroner on the table anyway. I donated it to charity. He probably thinks he changed my mind about capitalism. My aunt works at a pharmacy in Vienna International Airport in Austria, and she says Americans panic buy medication because they think European airports won't have American brands. One woman asked for Tylenol. My aunt showed her paracetamol, the same active ingredient. The woman said, "No, I need the real thing." My aunt explained it was identical, just a different brand name. The woman insisted American Tylenol was stronger, that European regulations made everything weaker. My aunt showed her the dosage. 500 milligrams, same as America. The woman bought it reluctantly, then came back an hour later to report it had worked for her headache, but she still didn't trust it for serious pain. My aunt asked what could be more serious than the headache she'd just treated. The woman said she didn't know, but when it happened she'd want American medicine. She bought 6 more packages, just in case, and told my aunt that Europe should really consider importing American pharmaceuticals if they wanted to compete globally. My aunt sold her acetaminophen, the compound American Tylenol is made from, invented in Germany. I'm a shuttle driver at Incheon International Airport in South Korea, and Americans always panic when they realize domestic connections don't require clearing security again. Last week I drove a family from their international arrival to the domestic terminal. The father kept asking where the checkpoint was. I told him there wasn't one. He said they were flying to Jeju Island, surely that needed screening. I explained he'd already been screened when he entered Korea. He said, "But we're getting on another plane." I said the system trusts you're not dangerous after the first check. He responded that American airports make you rescreen because people could do things between flights. I asked what things. He couldn't articulate it but insisted the risk existed. His teenage son asked what their dad thought would happen. The father snapped that you can't be too careful with aviation security. I dropped them at domestic departures. They stood outside for 10 minutes searching for the security entrance before finally walking to their gate, both of them looking over their shoulders the whole way. My aunt manages check-in at Changi Airport in Singapore Terminal 4, and American passengers react to our automated systems like they're science fiction. We have bag drops where you scan your passport, print your tag, attach it yourself, and load your suitcase. Takes about 90 seconds total. Americans photograph the machines. They call family members to describe them. One man recorded a video explaining the process step by step, narrating like he was documenting alien technology. My aunt overheard him say, "And get this, there's no TSA agent yelling at you about anything. It just works. He posted it on social media with a caption about how America was decades behind. Another woman asked my aunt if the machines ever make mistakes. My aunt said rarely. The woman asked what happens when they do. My aunt explained staff intervene. The woman said that proved humans were still necessary and that America's system of having agents do everything manually was actually more advanced because it prevented automation errors. My aunt just smiled. I work the taxi stand at Munich Airport in Germany, and Americans always want to know how far away the rental car area is from baggage claim. I tell them it's a 5-minute walk. They ask if there's a shuttle. I say you don't need one, it's inside the same building. They look at me like I'm withholding information. One couple had a connection in Munich for 3 hours and wanted to leave the airport to see the city. I gave them directions to the train. They asked how early they needed to return for security. I said 90 minutes was safe. The husband laughed and said, "No really, how early?" I repeated 90 minutes. He said there was no way, that American airports recommend 3 hours minimum for international. I told him Munich security averaged 15-minute wait times. He called his wife over to confirm I was serious. They debated for 5 minutes whether to risk it. They stayed in the airport. Later I saw them eating pretzels at a gate restaurant with 2 hours left until boarding, both staring at their phones, probably reading articles about how efficient European airports are while sitting inside one, too nervous to have experienced it. I'm a gate agent at Brisbane Airport in Australia, and Americans treat boarding announcements like they're optional suggestions. We call zones 1 through 4. Americans from Zone 4 sprint to the gate when Zone 1 is announced, then act confused when we tell them to wait. One man argued that in America if you don't board immediately, they might give your seat away. I explained we have assigned seating, his spot was guaranteed. He said he'd learned the hard way that you never trust airline promises and that getting to the gate first was the only way to ensure overhead bin space. I told him this flight was half empty, bin space wasn't an issue. He responded that Murphy's Law dictates the moment you relax is when things go wrong. He stood at the front of the line for 25 minutes while 3 other zones boarded, clutching his carry-on, ready for some imaginary battle. When we finally called Zone 4, he rushed down the jetway like he'd won something. I watched him board and heard him tell his wife, "See, we got good bins." They were the only people in Zone 4. Every bin was empty. My brother works the information desk at Hong Kong International Airport, and Americans ask him how to get to the city more than anyone else. He tells them the airport express train takes 24 minutes and costs about $12. They always ask the same follow-up, "Is there a cheaper option?" He explains there's a bus for $6 that takes longer. They ask how much longer. He says 45 minutes depending on traffic. They debate it extensively, pull out calculators, do currency conversions, compare the $6 savings against the 20-minute time difference. One couple spent 15 minutes deciding, finally chose the train, then asked my brother if they'd made the right choice. He said either option was fine. They asked which one he would take. He said the train because his time was valuable. The husband turned to his wife and said, "See, I told you." They walked toward the train, still arguing about whether the extra $12 was justified. My brother watched them miss 2 trains while they continued debating at the platform, ultimately costing themselves more time than the bus would have taken. I'm an airport operations manager at Kansai International Airport in Japan, and I've spent 15 years watching travelers from every country navigate our terminals. Americans stand out not because they're rude or difficult, but because they arrive braced for conflict that never comes. They've been trained by their own airport system to expect the worst. Long waits, hostile staff, arbitrary rules, the constant threat of missing flights or losing possessions. They approach security like an exam they might fail. They hoard boarding passes like precious documents. They memorize regulations for countries they've never visited. When they land somewhere like Japan or Singapore or Switzerland and find the process smooth, quick, and almost pleasant, they don't feel relieved. They feel suspicious. The efficiency itself becomes evidence that something's wrong, that corners are being cut, that danger lurks beneath the surface. Last month, I watched an American woman clear our security in 4 minutes, walk to her gate, sit down, pull out her phone, and immediately Google, "Is Kansai Airport safe?" She'd just experienced one of the most efficient airports in the world, and her first instinct was to verify it wasn't negligent. That's what American airports do. They don't just process passengers. They teach them that flying should hurt, that convenience equals risk, that if you're not suffering, you're not being protected. It creates travelers who can't accept kindness from airport staff, can't trust systems that work, can't relax in terminals designed for comfort. They've been institutionalized by their own infrastructure. And the saddest part is they don't even realize how bad they have it until they see what airports can be when they're not run like prisons. Then they go home and it starts all over again.